Shalom, shalom, peace and blessings. Now let's get straight into it. So today's lesson, I want to go over something that I saw here in JADEN IVEY, his post-game interview, and a game was about a month or so back. So JADEN IVEY is a guard, I believe a shooting guard for the Detroit Pistons, which I believe they lost over 60 games this past season, if I'm not mistaken. But either way, neither here or there. So this young brother right here, I believe he's only like 22 years old, something like that. He did something that I found very curious. All right, to the so-called Christians of the world, they all thought that this was a great thing, but to me, I saw a little bit deeper into it. You see, the title of this says, "Repent, Jesus is coming back," quote unquote, Jesus. Okay, let's see what happened here. The audio isn't going to play, but let's see what happens here with this brother's hands as he in the captions are on the screen. So let's see what happens here. Give all glory to the Lord, to my Lord and Savior, quote unquote, Jesus Christ, he says. Now, watch his hands. I just kind of want to, first, I just want to say that Jesus is the way, the truth to life, and to any of you to know the world famous message, the kingdom of heaven is near. Now look at his hands as he's saying this. Again, I found this very interesting as he was delivering this random message that quote unquote Jesus is the way and the truth and life. Yahushua is. So I want to let you guys know that when I'm saying quote unquote Jesus, understand that the word Jesus, or this character named Jesus, has taken on a completely different identity from Christ of the Bible. Okay, they're two completely different people. All right, so when the world says quote unquote Jesus, it's a completely different thing from the scripture. So that's why I think brothers, no matter what, should not be accepting that name as Jesus. I mean, from a certain standpoint, if you say that, it's not that as if you're referring to this pagan deity known as Jesus in today's world, but that's the energy that's revolved under that name now, unfortunately. And it's not Christ's name anyway. So it's a transliteration of the Greek name Eosis, Iesus, I believe it will be pronounced, or something similar. I know I'm botching that a little bit, y'all, but in the Greek, it's just a transliteration of the Greek name, the actual Greek name of Yahushua, but that's not his name anyways. But anyways, go back here again. Look at this brother's arms as he randomly delivers this message. Keep in mind, this is a post-game interview, so that means that this is an interview that these athletes, they have to attend after a game is finished. So, this is normally not the place that you would say something like that, and that's fine. But again, I just find it, I find it interesting that, at first he kind of had his arms like this, which is still kind of crossed. But immediately when he started giving this spiel about quote unquote Jesus, notice how his arms start folding up where he's forming an X. Let's look again. You see? Now look at his arms. Why is he making this X? Like I said, JADEN IVEY, he either is under some type of programming, which I want to do a lesson on MK Ultra, because I really believe that a lot of brothers, especially in the knowledge, they may think that this is just something that's kind of far-fetched that brothers like me may bring up. But once you see the evidence on it, you'll see that it's not just something that people be making up and just a quote unquote conspiracy theory or something. There's a ton of evidence on it. MK Ultra is real as anything else could be. I mean, there was a Supreme Court hearing on it. It's not some type of conspiracy theory. The only thing that could be considered a conspiracy theory is that it's still going on today, which if you understand how the U.S. government gets down, then they wouldn't scrap something that's shown to be successful, at least in my opinion. That's just my opinion, though. That's just my opinion. but there's plenty of evidence to support that opinion too as well. But either way, it ain't nothing fake, and a lot of these, excuse me, it's nothing fake. And a lot of these athletes, they are under an under MK Ultra program, and it is what it is. And this could be the same thing for this brother, or he did this unintentionally, and the media kind of boosted it up. I saw a lot of people talking about this at this time, and I believe because either way, it's subliminal messaging behind this. And where I'm getting at is this crossing of the hands is normally a symbol for the quote unquote sun god Osiris. Okay, and we're going to show plenty of evidence on that. All right, but again, let's look at this. Again, not that he's crossing his arms. I mean, sometimes you could kind of cross your arms like this, maybe, but he did this for quite some time, like, over 25 seconds or so. And he did it just as he was saying this. In the way he was kind of saying is almost like it was scripted or something. He was trying to remember what to say. It was just really awkward. Again, I'm not sure why this audio is not coming through, but just watch this interview yourself. You'll see it. See how he kind of like rubbing his arms as he does this? Like it's kind of, it's just kind of weird to me. It said faith in Jesus, he would come back. So, again, a lot of times when people in the media, they say the word Jesus, they say in the name Jesus, they're not talking about Yahushua of the Bible. And when I say that, I mean that literally you're talking about a completely different person. They're referring to a pagan deity. Okay, they're just using quote unquote Jesus as a placeholder, essentially. They're just using that as a way to communicate something else. All right. They're using that name to communicate. Really, we're talking about Osiris. All right. Now, may be far-fetched to some of y'all, but again, there's plenty of evidence to make this conclusion. Yeah, so again, the way that he started doing his arms as he was, explaining that, I just find that really interesting. And what was really going on there was JADEN IVEY trying to tell us something else, either knowingly or unknowingly. I don't know. I would say so. He was. Now let's take a look here on the screen. I have Chadwick Boseman, the late actor. Now let's take a look at his arms. We should all be familiar with this. This is the Wakanda Forever hand sign, right? You got to understand that they didn't have us out here doing this stuff for no reason. They didn't just pop up with an X. They weren't like Marvel, or I guess it's Marvel that makes this, right? They weren't just in the lab like, yeah, let's give a Black Panther a cool hand sign and all of that. They don't just make up stuff like this, brothers and sisters. These things have ancient origins. Okay, so when they had us out here folding up our arms in this X, it was for Osiris the whole time. That's always been a hand symbol for Osiris, the X. Excuse me, the X. All right. So we'll get more evidence on that. But again, that's exactly why. Because again, the movie in itself, the Black Panther, is based on the story of Osiris, Horus, and Set, just like the Lion King was. Okay. That's all it is. It's a retelling of an Egyptian, pagan, ancient story that's been told over and over and over again. Most of the movies that we see in, that are popular, a lot of times they have Egyptian and pagan mythos surrounding them. Okay. So it says here, I brought up this about the Lion King. It says the ancient Egyptian connection. So it says the Lion King has become a modern myth, but in truth, it's a creative retelling of a very ancient tale that probably originated in ancient Egypt's earliest dynastic intrigues. The peoples of Kemet, the two lands that we know today as ancient Upper and Lower Egypt, believed their dynasties to be descended from Osiris, Isis, and their son Horus. As soon as the pharaoh was given the crown of Horus, he was imbued with something of his spirit, his Ba. That's what they call the spirit in Egypt, the Ba, and became an incarnation of Horus and therefore descended from the gods. Okay, Horus was the embodiment of legitimate rule and order, although in some dynasties the crown represented both Horus and Seth joined in ruling together. No doubt evidence of the political tensions that existed between the ruling houses of the North and the South. Okay, let's kind of go down here. Let's see. It says, in one of the iconic and tender scenes between father and son in The Lion King, Mufasa tells Simba that, quote unquote, just as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, he would eventually die and Simba would have to replace him. So it says, to the people of Kemet, the west, in fact, meant the land of the dead. Ancestors go to, quote unquote, the west when they die. This is why the necropolis, the cities of the dead, were always built west of the Nile. The solar cult was about order. So one thing I touch on here, and you just think about the similitudes between the Lion King and the Black Panther. We've all probably seen the Black Panther by now, right? So I'm not giving none away. But on the Black Panther, notice that T'Chaka, I believe T'Chaka was T'Challa's, or Chadwick Boseman, his father, who Chadwick Boseman played on the Black Panther. His father, I believe, was T'Chaka. Now, T'Chaka, he died, right? And his son replaced him. Just how on The Lion King, Mufasa died and his son replaced him. Okay. Now, you may say, oh, that's just reaching, brother. But I promise you, if you really look back and think about it, this is not about this particular lesson we go into right now is not particularly about just going into movies in itself and the symbology within it. But I promise you, if you go back to a lot of the mainstream movies, you'll see the same, like it says here, Osirian mythical cycle. Okay, there are so many different movies and different allusions to these pagan deities. And you may be wondering, like, why is this relevant, or what does this actually mean? It's kind of like a brother back when Cat Williams was going off a little bit earlier this year. Brother was asking me, like, what's the goal of, if Cat Williams, if he was wearing this pagan Will of the Year, that big pendant that he was wearing during the Shannon Sharp interview, like, what's the goal of it? Like, what's the goal of this pagan stuff that you be talking about? I mean, it's very simple. So you have to understand that this world is deeper than just what you see on the surface. It's all about energy that's being portrayed. Like the example that goes to the top of my head, like when we see these different artists, like a Cardi B, a Nicki Minaj, are they directly telling women to be whores, to be harlots, to dress skimpy? Are they saying you literally need to? Are they saying the words directly? Hey, ladies, do not wear a lot of clothes when you go out, or just, when going out, not like to the club, to a bar. Walking outside nowadays, these women, they ain't wearing nothing no matter where they go, to the library or the grocery store. But anyways, are they telling these women these things directly? No, but the energy from their music, from the things that they talk about, is giving that same energy. Okay. Or like, with the government system, when the government system that's set up for with food stamps. See, they're telling you that you have to directly. They're saying to get food stamps, you have to make under a certain amount of money per year to be eligible for food stamps, right? So they're not telling you this directly, but they're indirectly encouraging people that want to get food stamps to never excel to a certain amount of income per year, or not, you won't get the food stamps. Or like with Section 8 and these different type of government programs that you're not allowed to literally have a male in the house. The energy is be single, be a single mother, even if you have children, because if you have a man in the house, I'm going to make it harder for you. So you have to be very careful of these things. It's very, very, very important to pay attention to this. So again, you got to be deeper than just the surface. There's energies involved with these things. And that's how the whole world, pretty much outside of the very few elect, and I'm not saying the very few elect that has been determined right now, but that will be determined, outside of the very few elect, everyone is going to fall for these things because of the energy involved, not just about what they say directly. So all the different hand symbols, all the different pagan ideologies and things that's pushed on the people, it's the reason why most people are under the spell. This is how you put witchcraft on the people. So something like with Cat Williams, with him wearing that Will of the Year pendant, on that interview that was viewed millions of times, you have to understand that there is energy involved with that. There is an indirect spell being put on people. If you don't know what's going on, if you accept it, you know what I mean? Like if you know what you're looking at, you're not going to accept it. But, our people, especially, we've been put under major, major witchcraft and, would simply put mind games, okay, over these past centuries. And that's the reason why we don't accept the scriptures. It's not just about things being shown on the carnal or on the physical realm, but on the spiritual realm. And how you attack somebody on the spiritual realm on the left-hand side, you give them these different energies. Okay, you show them images of the cross, all right, images of cross hands, and really the cross, like the cross that they have in church, which is pagan in itself, and the reason why Chadwick Boseman and the Black Panther and what we just saw from Jay Nabi, with the reason that they crossing their hands and the cross is like all in the same thing. It's all one and the same. Okay. We're going to go into that in just a second. Matter of fact, let me finish this. Let me finish going over this, and then we'll go right into the cross and the symbology into it. Okay. And then we're going to finish up and show where, other quote unquote celebrities have crossed their hands in similar fashion. Okay. Your boy Diddy was involved with that. But we're going to go into that in just a second. But anyways, I want to finish with this first. I want to read over this one more time. It says, in one of the iconic and tender scenes between father and son in The Lion King, Mufasa tells Simba that just as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, he would eventually die and Simba would have to replace him. Yeah, so this is huge in the Osirian mythical cycle. Okay. Or in the pagan Kemet ideologies, this is huge. The sun rising in the east and setting in the west. So even if you think about LeBron James, okay, LeBron James, didn't he say that he was the son? Remember, I made a video about that. I may put up a quick picture or something on the screen, but LeBron James, he said that he was the son. And notice that he started out east and then made his journey to the west. Again, that's a whole separate breakdown. You could think I'm reaching, but that was actually a ritual. The way that he went to the Los Angeles Lakers, that was part of a ritual of his career. Him going to the west or with the Lakers, starting in the east. But anyways, the journey to the west, you could literally just look that up. The journey to the west is It's something prominent in the Egyptian or Kemet ideologies. Okay, on the left hand side. Okay, and it says here the solar cult was about order. Okay, the rise and setting of the sun is linked with stability because it happens without fail every day, and also represents Ma'at, or the natural order, is what they call it, a guiding idea of the ancients Egyptians. I think it's just meant to say ancient Egyptians who were obsessed with order and stability. Okay, so Set. Ancients told the tale of how Set and his attendants betrayed and killed his brother, King Osiris. In the Lion King, Osiris was Mufasa, Horus was Simba, and Set was what's my boy name? Scar. Okay, so and it says here, yeah, his brother Scar lost a battle, but we won't go any more into that. I just wanted to show you that there are similarities between these stories, and the Black Panther is literally the retelling of the Osirian myth. All right, Osiris, Horus, and Set. All right, and when you see this X, that's exactly what that represents. And to me, that's what was being represented in this interview with Jaden IVEY. Okay, that's where I'm getting at, to be more direct. Now, again, whether he was doing this intentionally or not, I mean, it's, that something could be said about that either way. But just the way the interview happened, the way he was kind of rubbing his arms as he was saying it, he kept that X up the whole time. It's just, I think that's something to pay attention to. So I said I want to go into the cross. So if we go into the Blue Letter Bible here, or any concordance, if you go to Strong's G4716, stauros in the Greek, all right, it says a cross. Now, this is, something else that is kind of added on that you can take from this lesson is, why is the cross, why is it wicked? Why should we not get a tattoo of a cross like I have? I got when I was younger. Why should you, which is not a good thing, by the way. I'm not promoting that. Do not get a cross, at least if you are, you believe in the scriptures. But yeah, why should we not don a cross? Why is it wicked? Well, just read this description here. It says, a well-known instrument of most cruel and ignominious punishment, borrowed by the Greeks and Romans from the Phoenicians. Okay, so, and where did the Phoenicians get it from? The Egyptians. All right, but let's keep reading actually. To it were affixed among the Romans down to the time of Constantine the Great, the guiltiest criminals, particularly the basest slaves, robbers, and the authors and abettors of insurrections, and occasionally in the provinces at the arbitrary pleasure of the governors, upright and peaceable men also, and even Roman citizens themselves. So there's a reason that Yahushua went on a cross. They didn't just randomly decide to hang him up on a cross. This was part of, a pagan crucifixion, essentially, that stood for their gods. Okay, that X, it stands for Osiris in the Egyptian mythology, but also with the Greeks and the Romans, with their gods too as well. Okay, so there was a reason that they put Yahushua on a cross, and just randomly let me just pick a cross. And even within that, again, this is not. We know that this was we're reading here that this was a way that the Greeks and the Romans crucified the base of slaves, robbers, etc. But again, it had a pagan meaning behind it. It was a nod to their God. It was a sacrifice. Okay. So to them, Yahushua was a sacrifice. All right. On the left-hand side to them. But either way, let's kind of go into this now. So this is book by Tex Mars called Codex Magica that really breaks a lot of the hand symbols that you see now on the left hand side of the different Masonic hand signs and so on and so forth. So chapter 11 here says, cross my heart and hope to die the mysterious X factor. Says an X is an ancient symbol for change or transformation, long associated in medieval and Renaissance art with the coming of the Messiah who shall make all things new. That's what 33-degree Mason Jim Tresner said, at least according to this. According to this. The luminous Masonic meaning of the X is simply this. It is the sign of Osiris, the great Egyptian sun god. All right. Tex Mars, that's what he said. Now, we're not going to read this whole thing, but really if you read this whole chapter on the X, it's really, it'll really bring a lot of things home of what I'm trying to get at here. Okay. It says the sign or letter X has a long history of use in the ancient mystery religions, apostate Judaism, in Freemasonry, and in the occult. Okay. All right, let's kind of go into a few things here. Yeah. So that's one thing I want to touch on, but let me just start from here. For example, the well-known science fiction TV show, The X-Files. I'm going to just highlight this. I'm not going to say it because they might try to strike this video down anyways. Let's just say adult movies are rated X, and more sensational movies in the raw flesh category are touted as XXX or triple X, right? And what did Elon Musk, what did he change Twitter to? X, right? I mean, he didn't change it to X out of nowhere. I mean, this dude is a huge Luciferian. They don't get to that type of level without being so. But yeah, he changed Twitter to X for the same reason, for the same allusion to the same gods. Okay, something I wanted to mention. Okay, you got X-Men, Xbox. There's a lot of X, all right, in this society. You solve for X in algebra, and that's something I went over in another lesson. There's a reason that, we solve for X in algebra. And I also went over this scripture. I'm going to go back to Codex Magica in a second. Grab this real quick. Acts chapter 17 and verse 23. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God, whom therefore ye ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. So the unknown God is Osiris. All right. That stands for the X, the unknown. All right. That you have to solve for. That's another way. In our people, as you see, we were ignorantly worshiping Osiris, just like we ignorantly worship him today. Okay. If we go on and we making these X symbols and, you wearing a cross or you adhering to the cross, you're ignorantly worshiping Osiris. Now, when I say ignorantly worshiping Osiris, keep in mind that when it comes to any type of pagan deity, it's all one and the same. I'm saying Osiris, but it could go back to any one of the so-called pagan deities. It's just not Yahweh Shah that you worshiping or Christ of the Bible. Okay. It's the pagan deity known as the unknown God. All right. So I just grabbed this in the scriptures just so those that may know, those that don't know, that may think that I'm just reaching here, it's in the scriptures too. And that's why it's important, again, so that we are not a part of the lot that ignorantly worship these deities. That's why it's very important to know what you're looking at. Some brothers, I believe they don't understand or don't know why you should know some of the ideologies of the left hand side, and this is exactly why. All right, so you do not ignorantly worship or ignorantly accept these things. That's why a lot of brothers, they get caught up in like a Cat Williams and stuff like that, and you sharing a picture with the brother with the pendant with you share the pictures with the brother wearing the pendant pending with the year, the wheel of the year. Excuse me, y'all. I mean, you sharing that, getting caught up in it, and you're not even understanding what's really going on. I'm not saying if you post a picture that you literally pushing paganism. I'm not saying that directly. All I'm saying is that you don't know what you're looking at. And these things are going to heat up as we get closer to the end. So, you have to be aware of these things. All right. It's going to get increasingly more important to know what you're looking at, because it's going to be more and more deceptions thrown at our people in these last days. I always bring up Kyrie Irving. I feel like if you watch, all the lessons on this channel, then you may have heard me bring it up many times. But like, that that ritual really that took place with Kyrie Irving and the documentary that he posted on quote unquote X. All right. So that whole ritual, there was other rituals that were taking place at that time, but that whole thing that was going on, that a lot of people in the knowledge, a lot of Israelites, and even a lot of the camps were supporting, they didn't really understand what was going on there. It was not a I guess you can flip anything, for the right hand side. I'm not saying that maybe with Kyrie Irving doing that, it didn't bring awareness to our people being Israelites, but there was a lot of people watching the whole documentary. They didn't care at all. I saw Candace Owens. She watched the whole thing. It's not that she now calls herself an Israelite. The Most High still got to be dealing with you on a spiritual level for that to be the case. It's not that, quote unquote, bringing awareness. I'm not always a hugest fan of quote unquote bringing awareness. They use that same terminology when talking about like police brutality. That's why we should kneel, is bringing awareness for police brutality. So I'm not really into that, even on a, on this level. That what Kyrie Irving did is bringing awareness when he shared that, because of how he moved. He's not a believer in the scriptures. Okay. He all over the place. He says that he keeps Ramadan and he's a Muslim, but you'll see him declare some other stuff too. He all over the place. But that was the whole point, though, of me bringing it up. See, somebody like me that, I'm a little bit more aware of what I'm looking at. I don't just immediately see somebody like a Kyrie Irving do something like that, not just immediately, let's support Kyrie Irving and this and that, or anybody else, any of these other celebrities that call themselves Israelites and like a Kendrick Lamar and all that. I don't get excited at those things, because I know at the end of the day, you really can't trust none of these people. And a lot of them, they're trying to lure people in to get them to accept the left-hand path. They just using that as a tool to kind of lure people in. So that's why, again, it's important to know what you're looking at. Don't think every time a brother like me is bringing something like this out, we just crazy or something. Is actually pay attention, or just don't say nothing. Like if you don't want to take the time to research it yourself, just don't say nothing. But just don't be so skeptical either at the same time. Anyways, so Xmas to replace Christmas. Why is Xmas even a thing? A lot of so-called Christians, they'll say, don't say Xmas. Well, it don't matter, because either way, so-called Christmas is for the sun god Osiris. Either way, whether you say Xmas or Christmas. But why is Xmas even a thing? Because again, they're trying to show you a little bit more directly what Christmas is really about. It has nothing to do with Christ or the Bible, nothing at all. Okay. But that's why you see so many different X symbology in this society in particular. Okay. It says in the Greek alphabet, the letter chi is denoted with the symbol X and given a numerical designation of 600. The numerologists say that the triple X then will yield the number 666. Okay. Two well-known black Muslim leaders have been named Malcolm X and Lewis X. names they chose for themselves. That's not a coincidence either. Okay. It says here the latter, who was born Louis Eugene Wolcott in 1933 in New York City, changed his name to Louis X after his conversion to Islam by black Muslim leader Elijah Muhammad. Today, he is known as Louis Farrakhan. It is well known that Farrakhan is a 33 Prince Hall Mason, 33 degree Prince Hall Mason. So, Louis Farrakhan, a lot of time, he'll say something about so-called black people being Israelites, and people kind of get excited about that, even though he's he's a Muslim. There's a lot going on the back end of these with a lot of these people. Him being a 33 degree Prince Hall Mason, that's really something else. And am I saying that every Muslim is knowingly, in the know, worshiping Osiris or worshiping any sun god, any other deity? Not knowingly, but it's all what it leads back to. Okay, that's what that X represents. That's why Malcolm X or whoever, that's why they put that X in there in Islam. Okay, for the unknown, which alludes back to the unknown God, which is Osiris, which is one of the representations of the X when you cross your hand. All right, cross your arms. All right, that's where I'm getting at. Hopefully, this is all making sense, and y'all don't think I'm I'm just making up stuff. I mean, it is what it is. Okay, Freemasonry early on latched onto this letter exactly because of its paranormal significance as the sign of Lucifer, the solar sun god. The Masonic Lodge also uses X because of its sexual meanings and its Babylonian origins. Okay, writing in the Scottish Rite Journal, the official journal of the Mother Supreme Council, 33 degree Jim Tressner discussed the use of X in the ritual ceremony for the 17 degree King of the East and the West. We don't really have to continue to go into that. Let me kind of get some of this, get some more of the symbology, and then show y'all some of these pictures real quick. So you see that X on this this guy. Let's see. Okay, it says Ehud Barak, a Freemason, chosen Prime Minister of Israel in 1999 with his wife Nava. This is a very staged X, also significant in Nava's earring, which has the emblem of the Masonic double-headed eagle. So can't tell from this black and white drawing here, but yeah, you will see this X purposely being done in a lot of photos of these so-called celebrities. Okay, right here, Larry Summers. Let's keep going to the ones I want to go to, though. Your boy Nelson Mandela with the cross on his tie. Let's keep going. They'll do it with their feet sometimes too, by the way. And keep in mind, this book was written some time ago. Like if you were to look at a lot of the more modern pictures, I mean, you see it all over the place. You probably could even Google that. A lot of these cats, so-called celebrities nowadays, they doing this. So look at Allen Ginsberg is an enigmatic example of the X. With this photo published in an obituary column of Newsweek, there's no caption, only Ginsberg literary obit. The magazine touted Ginsberg's genius and praised him for his hymn of alienation. During his earlier years, a valueless poem titled How. In fact, beat poet Allen Ginsberg was a warped child molester advocate who boosted NAMBLA. Y'all know what NAMBLA is? The North American Man Boy Association, which is actually a thing. Okay. And I believe that's what's really next for this society is to push for things like NAMBLA. Try not to get the video flag like one of my other videos did. But you see, he doing a crossing of his hands too as well. He was a reprobate. I'm gonna highlight this, but a hero of satanists, sadists, and assorted culture freaks. Not to mention the elite. In the years before his death, they rewarded him with $1 million payment by Stanford University. Okay. So Allen Ginsberg, again, which was an advocate for the North American Man-Boy Love Association, which, man-boy love, that also goes back to different pagan ideologies. That's another thing I think brothers and sisters don't realize. They think that these people are just advocating for, with the word that I have here, highlight on the screen, a pedophile. I think people think that they just pedophiles just for the sake of it or something. No, I mean, this goes back to pagan rituals. They believe this on the spiritual level. Okay. It's not just because they just quote unquote freaks, in itself, they just get off on these things by itself, in itself. Now it goes back to the pagan ideologies too, as well, the pagan belief systems. Okay. It's even talked about in the scriptures too, as well. So this ain't nothing new. All right. But you see, he crossed his hands up too. She crossing her hands up. Gloria Steinem, which was one of the reasons why our women out here believing in all types of feminism. Gloria Steinem, cover her a little bit in that. I believe it was the one lesson I did on the woman worship agenda, I believe. Yeah, Steinem was covertly working for the CIA. Okay, she founded the Radical Agenda MS magazine reportedly with the elite funding and travel widely in India. Okay. It's culture destroying feminist movement. So this Miss Steinem, as it says here, she her work on feminism, it traveled to so-called black women too as well. Okay. Now look at this. Now look at your boy. Okay, this is what I wanted to get to. So let's start over here. You can't see the picture that well here on the screen, but you could pull this up, Sports Illustrated magazine if you needed to. But this is Allen Iverson, him crossing up his hands. You got to understand that these pictures that they take, especially for these major magazines like Sports Illustrated or whatever the case, it's never on purpose, these poses that they choose. Whether the athlete or quote unquote celebrity is aware of it or not. You have them pose in a way for a reason, because they're trying to portray a certain image, a certain energy. All right. This is how they push these ideologies on you on a spiritual, subconscious, subliminal level. Okay. You could think these things are not important if you want to, but it is what it is. The evidence is this whole world has accepted paganism for the most part. 9 times out of 10, you talk to somebody at pagan, whether they realize it or not, even though they weren't told these things directly. Why is that? Because of these different type of images like that's being pushed on the people. Okay. Allen Iverson, NBA basketball star. NBA basketball star. Observe his deathbed skull tattoo. Yeah, which is another thing. And of course, the X. Now look at y'all boy. That's catching a lot of heat right now. Sean Combs. Rock and roller Tommy Lee embraces hip hop entertainer Sean Combs, or Diddy, in an X. Lee's sign of the satanic pentagram tattoo on his left hand is also evident, which is right here. You can't see that well on this picture, but I have a physical copy of this book, so I know what it's looking like. But either way, it's kind of interesting. When I saw this, I knew I had to do this video. I was like, it all kind of ties back, because this dude P. Diddy, he under fire right now. I haven't even looked into it that much, because some of this is what's going on with P. Diddy kind of feeling like more contrived. then he just actually in trouble. Either he didn't pay the piper, he didn't do something that the elites told him that he had to do, or this is just some type of shame and ritual, and he'll be back better than ever. That's normally what happens, but that's remain to be seen. Maybe some of you brothers that's looked into it a little bit more, you can comment and let me know what you think. But yeah, man, this X, and this is another thing I want to show you. These are actual descriptions here, Egyptian figures that demonstrated the quote unquote Osiris sacred X. You see, the mummy of Ramses the Great, which a lot of even us as Israelites, we know about Ramses the Great, was found in a cedarwood sarcophagus. This pharaoh is thought by Egyptologists to be the ruler who enslaved the Israelites and forced them to build cities. So, see, he has an X. He's throwing up an X. So that's why, again, it's for Osiris. The ancient Egyptian figures demonstrate how prevalent was Osiris's sacred quote unquote X. See, they all throwing up the X. See? So, I mean, we could keep going. That's pretty much it. Look at the Pope. It's so wicked. I think that was pretty much it. We could keep going. Oh, well, look, I mean, hey, with the so-called KKK and the I meant to say the old Confederate flag with the X on it. It all goes back to the same ideologies. Okay, the Ku Klux Klan all goes back to the same thing. So where I'm getting at is, to summarize again, when I saw this brother JADEN IVEY, the guard for the Detroit Pistons, when he did his post-game interview, he's talking about quote unquote Jesus out of nowhere like that. Which is not too uncommon. He just went into like a whole, like 20 or 30 rant about it. It's not uncommon for an athlete to say, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, or something like that. But it's just the way he did it. Then he started folding up his arms, the way he was touching his arms with his fingers. He held it up for a long time and made me very suspicious. So I just wanted to show y'all the symbology behind the letter X, at least an intro to it, because we can go to a lot more. A lot of what we showed on the screen, we could have went much deeper into it, but that's pretty much the idea. This brother was either doing this intentionally, based on things that he's been programmed to do, or he just did it unintentionally, but I saw the media was really pushing this. So, because the people behind the doors, they know what that really means. Okay, with that X, when you cross your arms, what it really means. And we saw plenty of examples of different quote unquote celebrities and notable figures that were throwing up the X sign too as well. And especially if we look at more modern, actors and entertainers, athletes, or so on and so forth, you'll see a lot more of that as well. Let's leave off with this. Look at your boy LeBron James. It says here, X, Osiris risen, the Phoenix rising. Google search celebs crossing their arms with X. Let's look at LeBron James here. It's a pregame ritual that he does. When he does that, when he does his hand up, he's not looking up to the Most High. He's looking up to the Sun God. That's who he really worships. LeBron James does. Okay. You see, he threw up the 666. Also threw up what Jay-Z calls what do he call it? The Hove, or whatever it is, man, that he calls it. That's an allusion to the mother goddess. Okay. Now you saw that? Now, why is he doing that? Like, what does this have to do with scriptures? What does this have to do with basketball even? Okay, what does this have to do with anything? Nobody really ever asked these people why they be doing all this stuff, all these different hand signs and stuff like that. Okay. He's not doing this for Wakanda Forever. He's not doing this for Chadwick Boseman. He's not doing this for the Black Panther. Okay, he's doing this for Osiris. All right, to show who he really worships behind the scene. That's why he's doing it before a game. He's trying to get that energy. Okay. So, you know, if you still think I'm reaching, I don't know what else to tell you. All right. But that's pretty much it. I just want to go over that really quickly. And Lord willing, it was edifying. Until the next time, I bid everyone a mighty shalom.